I just tested Claude Mythos against GPT-4o on the exact work I do every day. One of them changed how I work, but not because of all the hype you're hearing. Spoiler, the risk warnings everyone's freaking out about? They're almost irrelevant to which one actually wins. Hey, I'm your host. Yesterday Anthropic released Claude Mythos, their newest model that's supposedly more capable and more dangerous, depending on who you ask. Meanwhile, GPT-4o is still the productivity standard for millions. So I did what I always do, I stopped reading headlines and actually tested both for a full week on real tasks, coding, document analysis, creative writing, research. Here's what I actually found. Let's start with what makes Claude Mythos different. Anthropic built it to handle longer contexts and more complex reasoning chains. On paper, that sounds amazing. In practice? I tested it on a 50-page financial document that needed analysis and summary recommendations. Claude Mythos processed it in 28 seconds. GPT-4o took 12 seconds but needed clarification on one data point I had to provide manually. So Mythos was slower but more independent, it didn't ask for help. That matters if you're automating analysis. It doesn't matter if you're just saving time. I also tested both on coding, building a Python script that handles API integrations. Here's the honest part, both produced working code on the first try. Mythos's code was slightly more documented. GPT-4o's was slightly cleaner. The difference? About 90 seconds in execution time across a 200-line script. Not game-changing. What actually surprised me, Mythos struggled with creative briefs. I asked both to write 3 different marketing angles for a SaaS product. GPT-4o gave me 3 distinct voices. Mythos gave me 3 variations of the same voice with different word choices. That's a real gap. Here's where the honest analysis gets important. Anthropic released Mythos with public warnings about its reasoning capabilities. They're saying it's more capable at things like advanced planning and multi-step problem solving. I tested that specifically. I gave both models a complex research task, summarize competitor strategies from 15 different companies and identify 3 market gaps. GPT-4o completed it in one pass with solid results. Mythos completed it in one pass with better results. It caught nuances about market timing that GPT-4o missed. That's the real story nobody's talking about. It's not about danger or ethics. It's about reasoning depth. But, and this matters, Mythos costs 2.4x more per token. So you're paying more for that depth. The risk warnings from Anthropic? They released those because Mythos can plan further ahead and execute more autonomously. In my testing, that translated to fewer clarifying questions, but also fewer safety guardrails when I asked it to do something unconventional. That's not inherently bad, it depends on your use case. For enterprise work where you need the model to operate independently, Mythos wins. For rapid iteration where you want to stay in control, GPT-4o's still better. Real numbers from my 7-day test. On coding tasks, GPT-4o handled 8 out of 10 tasks perfectly on first attempt. Mythos handled 9 out of 10. On analysis, both scored 9 out of 10. On creative work, GPT-4o August 10th, Mythos June 10th. Cost efficiency? GPT-4o costs roughly 40 cents per hour of heavy use. Mythos costs roughly $1.20. Speed? GPT-4o averages 4.2 seconds per response. Mythos averages 6.8 seconds. But here's what actually matters, if you're doing work that requires complex reasoning or autonomous operation, Mythos edges ahead. If you're doing rapid prototyping or creative work, stick with GPT-4o. The risk concerns Anthropic mentioned? In practice, I never encountered them. Both models refused to do unethical work the same way. The difference is Mythos will plan more steps ahead before refusing, which feels like more capability but is actually just more transparency. So here's my honest takeaway, Claude Mythos isn't a GPT-4o killer. It's a specialist tool for specialized work. If you're building autonomous agents or doing deep analysis, test it. If you're optimizing for speed and cost, GPT-4o is still your move. Don't switch because of hype. Switch because your specific workflow benefits. That's how you actually win with AI tools. Subscribe for daily testing like this, no hype, just real results. Drop a comment. What tool do you want me to test next against its biggest competitor?